Hi, good evening. My name is Jay Rothman, and welcome to Real Men, Real Talk Live. Welcome to the show. My name is, in fact, Jay Rothman, and I am coming in from Sedona, Arizona. This evening, I am joined by my co-host, Evis Heath, coming in, the man of the land from down under Australia. Good to see you, Ev.
Thanks for having me, brother.
We have Josh Richer living in a bubble, somewhere in the US, working on a TV set. For the next couple of months, he is coming in remotely from his new temporary home. Welcome to the studio, Josh Richer.
Great to be here.
And of course, we have Sir Charles coming in from the Tampa, Florida. Welcome back from Cancun. Last week you were out having some fun. It's good to see you back in your home. Welcome to the studio.
Brother. Thank you.
And we've got Mr. Jeff Pisano coming in from Nashville, Tennessee, just coming off of a photo shoot. And so, welcome to the studio, Jeff Pisano.
Thank you, Mr. Rothman, sir. It's
Well,
wonderful to be here.
Well, another week has come and gone, and I hope you guys had a good week, all things considered. I know a few of you guys have got some stuff going on in your personal life. Perhaps maybe you'll have an opportunity to share some of that. But tonight, I want to deep dive. I want to jump right into our topic. Our topic tonight, we're going to switch it up from the last 2 weeks where it got hot and it got hot and heavy quick. We're going to jump into assessing your life from surviving to thriving. Are you in or out? And so, for me, what this topic is truly about is that we are all in a very defining moment of our lives. There are pivotal moments as we navigate through this thing called life. Sometimes it has to do with relationships starting, relationships ending. It has to do with people that we care about passing away or dying. Sometimes it's a job change. We change careers or we change jobs. Sometimes it's losing a friend, gaining a friend. Sometimes it's financial wealth, and sometimes it's maybe financial ruin. There's so many pivotal moments and of course there's marriage, there's birth of a child. And with all that going on, it really comes down to, in this moment, we as a global world are facing things that we have never experienced in our lifetime. And what I am finding is so many people that I'm in contact with are knowingly starting to really assess their life in this moment and ask the questions that perhaps they haven't had to ask before or they chose to ignore. But this time is different because we're all being challenged with the same questions. And so with that, I'd like to open it up, not knowing where this conversation is going to go this evening, but I know it's going to go exactly where it needs to go. I'm going to open it up to mix it up a little bit this evening and invite Josh Richer to
yes, look at that.
Yeah, baby.
our life. Are we surviving or thriving? What does that mean to you today, Josh?
What that means to me today is, and I think a lot of us, right, are being forced to look at our lives and see what's working and what's not working. And it's an incredible time for all of us. It's supremely unique, and generations after us will probably never experience what we're all going through right now. So I first want to honor where we're all at this moment. And as painful as that may be, and as tough as it may be in this time we're forced to look at our lives and say, wow, what's working and what's not? And am I sick and tired of being sick and tired? Do I need to make a change? What is that change? All this unknown. And I want to honor the scary place that a lot of people are in. And I'm being forced, as I have come back to work, to look at those same things too. And after being at home and coaching full time and being with the people and doing my soul's work and my passion, and where the universe has guided me these last few years to be thrust back into an old version of myself, has really been a stark contrast. And so, yeah, it's interesting. I'm examining right now what's working and what's not working, and what that means for my future. And the future is unknown for all of us. And for me, it's being okay with that unknown. I think that discomfort in a lot of people causes panic and causes fear and causes a lot of discomfort. And we think that that's bad. And it's not necessarily a negative thing. We don't have to run from that discomfort. And we can be okay living in this place and simply discovering things as they unfold, listening to that inner voice and moving forward from that place of trust and surrender, knowing that we will be taken care of. And that is the place that I'm meeting my world from today. I know we all have our own unique perspectives as we move through life, but that's how I'm choosing to meet the world today, is to get curious around the areas where I'm feeling discomfort, and exploring that, but also trusting in the grand plan and trusting that I will be taken care of and moving forward with that faith.
Wow, brother. What an opening. Beautiful. Deep, man.
Came out.
Yeah, love it.
So, yeah, that's where I'm at.
Guys,
Yeah.
I think we're living more at any time in our lives, more in the unknown than the known. I think we're more, everything is so unknown to us right now. And what that leads to is survival. If I don't know what's ahead of me, I just immediately go into survival. And what happened at the beginning of this pandemic, months and months back in March, when people were just starting to move right into this fear aspect, and then started to say, what do I need to do to survive life? Go into total panic mode and survive life. Now that we've moved forward a little bit, it's really a good time to look at that. For all the people out there who went into that survival mode, or maybe still in that survival mode, ask yourself, how does that really make me feel? Am I moving in a place of abundance, or am I just holding on in this survival place just to get through everything? Granted, that comes up. So that has been triggered in so many people right now, the survival mode, because it's the unknown. People want to know everything all the time. People want to control everything all the time. People want to know if they're in their comfort all the time. And so many people's and everybody's comfort zone is being rattled right now. We're in a time right now where if we take this moment in time, this huge global pause, and take a look at our life, what resonates, what doesn't, begin to look at our relationships, assess our relationships, and just begin right now. Ask yourself, where am I in my life right now? Am I in survival mode? Am I in fear? Am I panicking? And if I am, like Josh just said, that's okay. Be where you are. But begin with the question, where am I right now? What in my life resonates for me, and what no longer resonates for me?
Mm-hmm.
I think I'll jump in there. I want to say what's up to our girl Brandy, who's always on the show. Is actually came and in the living room with the kids. She brought a pizza pie. She's in town for a couple of days, so that's dope to have her commenting live. But it's interesting. I actually, in many ways, like this time because for me, it's a reset in many different ways, and I say that because I just think the world was so used to mediocre, and the world was also very selfish, right? And what I mean by mediocre, we had artists who were putting out stuff that we didn't understand how these people were doing what they were doing. We had people who were, you know, if I hate to say it, it's like, you know, everybody's trying to OnlyFans page and Instagram this and showing behind and titties all over the place. It's like if you're not a hoe, and I hate to use that word, then it's like, you know, you got a hard way to go. You know, for those folks who are actually getting up every day and working an honest job. You know, so I think the reset button was put on for mediocre right now, and those who survive, those who thrive, those who work for themselves, those who are movers and shakers and hustlers, they're still making a lot of money right now. They're still benefiting. They're still thriving. The housing market is not slowed down, right? You can't even buy a house right now where I'm at, man. You bet if you see a house on the market, you better buy that thing within minutes because somebody's going to beat you to the punch. So I do like where we're at because I think that it's a reset, it's a repause. It's allowed a lot of people. You see people walking in the park. You see people exercising. You see people looking for new opportunities as far as business, realizing that, you know, how many people do we know were working at their job for 20, 15, 20 years and all of a sudden just got fired and have no clue of what they're going to do next, right? So this allows people to realize that this just is maybe this 9 to 5 thing or this just way that they've been doing it, man, may need to be re-examined, and that we have to look at other ways to do well, to survive, to thrive, to continue to live our best life. So once again, I see people, you know, I see people, a lot of people surviving, but I also see a lot of people thriving. So I kind of like this time that we're in right now. And I've grown. I've taken a lot of time personally to look into myself. I've taken a lot of time to look at the things, even through this show, things that I could learn, and then I'm learning from different people who are in my surroundings, and things that I've made mistakes on, where I can honestly say, yo, you know what, man, I was wrong on that, and I'm still wrong on that. I was kind of foul in that action, and I'm going to grow from that. So I think this has been a tremendous time. You know, of course, we just want to get by so people aren't dying. But I think once we get out of these ashes, that we're going to see those roses really start to come up.
Beautiful.
Wow, brother. Wow. Going in deep, my brothers, tonight. Loving it.
I'm curious. So how many of you guys have friends or family that have radically changed jobs, positions, their lives, finally gone after the things that they've wanted to? I've got several. I mean, we're talking massive life changes. And like you said, Charles, it's that opportunity. It's that discomfort. People are realizing they're surviving and they want to live. They want to be free, that the old isn't working. Right?
Key, brother. It's the old way of life. It didn't work. And we've seen that, and we've said it time and time again, and we've shuffled back to this idea of survival and thrive because we have mentioned it a couple of times, and we have to really look at it from a biological, a physiological, a psychological way, and then really start to be able to understand what really is going on down here. And one of those ways is what the title of the show is tonight. Are you assessing your life? Are you taking stock? Are you taking inventory of what's gone down in your old life, in the old paradigm? Or have you just gone back into the old way? Now, like Charles is saying, this is reboot. This is reset. We have to redo a couple of things, yeah. But that's on the other side, in that unknown space, is where the creation is allowed to take place. And we're getting these energies beautifully now on this planet. And that's why, like you said, Josh, we're starting to see people change professions. We're starting to see people go out of different relationships that may have not served them. We're starting to see people finally take an inventory of their health. Man, these are three key things where you could start really assessing your life. That'll help a lot of people start changing their life. It can happen in days. It might not even happen in this lifetime. This time might not be for you. But brothers and sisters, we're being forced, and we're also being guided to really take on this experience. So I'm with you, Charles, man. This is a beautiful time to be in, only if you could see it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And one last thing too, as well, what I was getting back to is I really believe that before this time, man, a lot of people were very selfish. And I'm sure, Josh, you know exactly, especially being in Hollywood, everybody was just about themselves. Mm-hmm. It's about what they could amass, what kind of house, what kind of cars, what kind of real estate. Everybody was just out for themselves. Now we see people working together, right? I mean, between StreamYard and these other platforms, man, everybody's is on a positive tip, right? How many new podcasts? Thousands of podcasts on health and wellness and this, that, and the other thing that have popped up. People realize right now that we're in this together and that we should have been helping each other. We should have been pulling our brother man up and not just watching from down there, right? But pulling each other up, man, so we could all eat a piece of the pie. Because right now there's enough money for all of us to live very well. So we should be working together. So I think that has also changed. The selfishness has gone away, and now we have no choice but to work together to fight through this.
Mm-hmm. I want to take a moment here to kind of expand a little bit here, because what I want to make sure that our focus isn't just on creating income, and this show is not just about the financial aspect of having the courage to step into our passion and purpose. But there's another part that's really important right now. And I'm going to share with you guys a couple of things that's happened for me. One is that I want to utilize this time to clean up some mess, to clean up some areas in, let's say, in my personal life, in my personal relationships that aren't quite where I'd like them to be. So, for example, I woke up a couple of days ago and felt I was ready to approach one of my sons, who's been holding on to some resentment for, I believe, for some time. And I reached out to him today. I FaceTimed him. I haven't seen my son in over a year, face to face. Wow. And I FaceTimed him today. And I just was really honest and vulnerable. And I just said, I just shared with him, I spent decades being angry and holding on to resentment towards my own parents. And it didn't serve me. It actually hurt me big time in my own life and all my relationships. And I said to him, I don't want to see you have to go through what I went through. And so if there are things that I can do to help this relationship heal as your dad, let me know what they are. And you don't have to tell me now because you've been blindsided by this conversation. You know what's coming. But I don't want you to go through what I went through. I want you to have freedom from the resentment and the inner bondage of whatever anger you're holding on to towards me as your dad. And I said, I'm not having this conversation for me. It's for you. And what was beautiful about it was that he said to me, Dad, I've worked through those issues and I don't feel them today. But I do have some apologies I do want to make to you. It's just not a good time. Can I call you tomorrow? And can we do it then? And I said, absolutely. And that for me is huge because there's not a better time than to clean up all aspects of our life that haven't been serving us, that we are aware of consciously and subconsciously, even if we're not thinking about it during the day because we distract ourselves with healthy and many times unhealthy distractions, self-soothing distractions. But it comes forward for us when we're asleep. How many nights do we have restless sleep? Do we have bad night's sleep? I know I have it still at times. This week I've had a few of those nights. And so it's within us, whether we are addressing it or not. If there's not a better time now to clean up whatever is heavy in our life, now is the best time to do it. It's a great opportunity to clean up the streets. Whether we do it in our own personal relationships, or we do it as it's been happening across the United States for the last couple of months since George Floyd was murdered. So that's a whole other aspect of, are we just surviving or thriving? And are we in or out? And another thing I want to share with you real briefly is, me making a decision to pick up and leave Scottsdale, making a move, not because I was running away from anything, but because I had the awareness that I was spending more time in the city of Sedona than I was in the city of Scottsdale. And after 6 or 7 weeks, I was like, if I'm here and I'm not there, then maybe this is where I'm supposed to be. And instead of going to all of the reasons why, trying to think it through, I chose not to think through this change. I chose to pay attention to how I was showing up and what I was feeling inside here in my heart space. And I didn't have to give it much thought at all. Almost no thought. I just knew it felt right, and I trusted. And what I know is in my life today is there's no such thing as mistakes. There's only missteps. Because a mistake means that I'm taking something from somebody. And I know today that that's not my intention to take anything from anyone. My intention is to come from love and kindness. And so when something doesn't go the way I want it to go, it's not that I've made a mistake. I've made a misstep, and it's a growth opportunity. I get to look at it and go, okay, universe, what do I need to learn from this? So it's a chance for me to really grow. And so, Ev, what do you think about that?
Wow, brother. Beautiful, my brother. Always beautiful, Jay Rothman, man. That's why you host this show, my man. And look, just on the back end of that, you talk about walking these or cleaning these streets. Let's picture this then, my brothers and sisters. How about we picture we're in a different neighborhood right now. Yeah, we've got to clean up these streets. We probably don't know what street to go down, but we've been walking the same streets for so long. Those streets might look like your emotional maturity, your emotional intelligence. Those streets might look like all those sabotaging thoughts that you may have been hammering yourself all over the years. They may look like your self-doubt. They may look like that you're not worth enough. Those streets are a beautiful opportunity to be cleaned up, like Jay Rothman said right now. We have this beautiful energy. I talk about these energies all the time because many of you guys out there that are in these spiritual and these self-awareness circles, we know this time was coming. This is called the spiritual awakening. So if you've been separated from your body right now, you've been living in survival because your body is attuned to the environment. They've been attuned to streets outside of you that haven't been designed for your well-being. They haven't been designed for your abundance. They haven't been designed for your prosperity. They've been designed to keep you in survival, man. So we do have this beautiful time to start thriving, but where do we go with this information? Well, first we need to take stock. And if that just looks like what Jay mentioned, it could be someone close at home. It could be something at your work. It could be something just within your own life. You always come back to here. This out here, that's just a reflection. So when we can see that reflection within inside of us, then we can start moving forward down that direction of the street we want to start going down. So yeah, man, thanks for sharing that, Jay.
Of course, the beautiful thing about this show, guys, is that we all, as beings, as being human, we all have things that we're going to go through, the ebbs and flows, especially now. And what this show is about is not us just pushing out what we have learned, but what we are actually experiencing. And that's the key. That's what we need to do is just show up and be who we are, show our vulnerability, and speak our truth, because when we do it, we're showing courage to others. We're hopefully inspiring and touching other men and women to say, okay, it's time for me to show up and grow up now and take care of my house, get my house in order. Because this is what I heard today in a talk that I was listening to. You know, breath is something that we take for granted in our life. But if you think about it, the first thing we do when we're born is we breathe. And the last thing we do when we transition is we take our last breath. But everything in between those two bookends, we take for granted, which is our breath. I spent a lifetime shallow breathing, and I'm just learning now how to really appreciate my breath and how to honor it and love it and respect it and have gratitude for it, because without breath, I have nothing. I'm empty. I'm not here. Right?
That's it, brother.
Jeff is Seattle. What's on your mind, brother?
I like cleaning up loose ends. I decided way back in February, before all of this hit, to begin to detach from the world or the third dimension outside, because I got hit with tinnitus that totally brought up everything in my face of what I needed to work on and heal. And I've been doing that since February, working on cleaning up aspects of myself, learning how to really value and honor myself, finding out that how I've lived on the edge of deprivation my entire life. I started working with my friend Ron Baker in New York about probably April-ish, and we have really been diving into areas of my life, he's known me for 20 years, of value, honor, working on cleaning up all of the loose ends inside of me. But he threw a bomb at me 2 weeks ago saying, Jeff, as long as I've known you, you lived on the edge of deprivation. We live on the edge of deprivation. What that really means is that we're not honoring and valuing ourselves to the fullest that we can. He's also shown me where I've lived in my life trying to prove to others that I am valuable, prove to others that I am worthy. We've been working all on this since April, and it's cleaning up a lot of my old behaviors that have kept me separated on an energetic level, separated on a heart level from others because of judgment and shame of self, because I think I need to prove to others that I am worthy. I need to prove to others that I am worthwhile, that I'm good enough. And we've been cleaning all of this up for the last couple of months now. And that is what I've really been focused on in my personal life, because as we move through this, on the other side of this, what I've really found, one of the questions that I ask everybody and what I've been asking of myself is, what is truly, truly, now that we've had this time to pause, reset, what is truly important to me? And I've found what is truly, truly important to me is intimacy. Intimacy with you guys on a certain level, intimacy with a life partner, opening up my heart space and fully being comfortable being me. When I started working with Ron in April, I made it look really good to others that I was comfortable being me. But there was an edge inside of me that was portraying some sort of mask. And that is what I have been working on diligently with Ron since April, cleaning up the edges, moving through the fears inside of me, the fear of not good enough, the feeling that pervades inside of me constantly that I'm not good enough. And now to really move into, and he's been giving me wonderful tools and exercises to do. Jay, just as you said, he is giving me 3 breathing exercises that when I move into those places have shifted and changed my life dramatically.
Beautiful. Mm.
So I've used this time to turn the mirror on myself, and at times it hasn't been easy. When Ron said, "I've seen you live on the edge of deprivation for the 20 years I've known you," I mean, that was a bomb, man. I never even looked at that, and I'm so glad that I've had this time to start wondering why. And how much I don't like that behavior, how much that old behavior doesn't work for me. Why, I have been so, what happens is folks, we get so committed to these old behaviors because we're comfortable in them and we know them. It is about having those comfort zones rattled. And that's exactly what this entire time has done. It's rattled every single comfort zone about myself, inside of myself, that I've never had rattled before.
Beautiful. Jeff, I want to just take a moment just to acknowledge you as well as Evis and Josh and Charles for really showing up tonight. And I'm leaving this on the screen here. Jillian coming in from, actually it's 2 a.m. It was 2 a.m. Now it's closer to 3 a.m. Coming in from the UK. She's one of our viewers that intentionally stays up on Friday night so that she can be a part of this show, part of this conversation. And I want to acknowledge you, Jillian. I know there are others of you coming in from overseas. We'd love to know what country you're coming in from. If you're in from the United States, post in the comments what city and state you call home today. But Jillian touched on a really important word here, and that's called fear. And what I want to do is I want to dial it back, gentlemen, because if it sounds real good, what we're all chatting about is like, take this time to make a difference in your life. You in or out. But there are some people dealing with some real major challenges right now. They may be unemployed. They may be furloughed. They may have been fired. They may not have unemployment money coming in yet. They may have lost a loved one, or they are themselves fighting or battling or embracing the COVID virus. There are people that are facing homelessness. There are people that may not have enough food in the refrigerator. There's some real basic life conditions right now that millions may not have encountered in their life. And so what I'd like to do is really kind of shift us into high gear and really kind of touch on how do we, as we are facing these incredible challenges and living in a constant worry and state of fear and anxiety, which we know comes from our thoughts, but that's also coming from our truth. What can we do as men and women to help bring down that fear and that worry so that we can navigate through this moment instead of just trying to survive through it? How can we change our relationship with it so that even in this most difficult moment, we can thrive? What can that look like?
Well, I can tell you, Jay, for a lot of years, I lived in fear, and a lot of my fears were financial. I had a business crash that brought me down financially and emotionally, and I lived a lot of years fearing lack of money and overstressing, overworking to overcome that. And as lessons are in life, they're so beautiful. They keep coming back if you don't get it, as mine did around this area. And I was pushed to learn, trust, and surrender, and that we can absolutely live in constant fear, and that can be our natural state, and it's supremely uncomfortable, and I lived there for a lot of years. But leaning into trust, leaning into listening to that inner voice, quieting yourself enough, quieting the mind enough, putting down those fears for a moment and being still and following your truth and following that little voice inside of you, and trusting and leaning into trust even deeper. Have we not always been taken care of, and have the hard times not taught us what we needed to learn, and hasn't it all led to now, to who we are now? And I know there are a ton of new fears out there that none of us have dealt with before, that whole list that you mentioned, Jay. But I'm choosing to lean into trust in this moment. My mom is, one one unemployment check away from total destruction, and that terrifies me. And I feel that I need to jump in and save, but I also need to lean into the trust, that we will be taken care of. There will be a way. I can't see it now. And that's the problem with the brain. If the brain can't figure it out and in a set of knowns, known conditions that we know, the brain is always looking for a solution. If it can't find that in what we know, then that's where the terrified fear comes in. And so to just lean into trust is where I've been going with all of this.
Beautiful.
And it's hard. I feel all of you. I get waves of the terror too. And it's tough. It's tough when we see families struggling. It's tough when we see friends struggling. And we see that constant worry and fear.
Charles, what's your take on it? As a single dad raising your children, I'm sure you must have a lot of questions about the future, not only for you, but for your children. As you guys are navigating through this, how are you tackling your own moments of the unknown? How are you staying present, or are you?
Yeah, it's tough. I told you today, Jay, I didn't even know if I was going to make the show today, just because, between putting together these shows and dealing with, companies, dealing with 3 kids when I have them, week on, week off, dealing with an ex that just is uncooperative. Now looking at, I don't want these kids back in school, but, I got to deal with games from that side. And that is uncertain as far as what's going to happen to them as far as school. It was a tough one. It was a tough one. So I literally, when I told you, man, I had a little meltdown today. And, I'm not into taking any medications or anything like that. But man, I had some anxiety stuff that's been sitting in the closet, man, for about a year. And I just, had to throw one of those back and just lay down and sleep and just get my mind off of all the stuff that we have to deal with. And I think, one of the things that we're dealing with too, as well, as we're all kind of talking about, is loss of life. Right now, we're actually facing the idea that any one of us can get this wild disease, and no matter how young we are, it could all be over. I think at times a lot of people believe that, before this is that, we were gonna, buy that house and have a white picket fence and get married, and we were gonna, run off and be off into our 70s and 80s and 90s. And now we're facing something that, is a reality that you got 9-year-olds dying from this thing. So I think that, that reality of we could, get sick, we could lose everything. Our family can get sick, our family can die, they could lose everything, is here. And, I think that we're gonna be all right. I think those who are always upbuilding themselves mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally. And I know that even now, once again, and I remember when Jeff was sharing on some of the first shows, and I thought, man, who knew that, in your 30s or 40s or whatever it may be, that you're still having to recreate yourself. You're still having to adjust. You're still having to figure it out. You would think that you would have it together by now, but there's always things that we have to look at, even from yesterday, and say, you know what, man, I could have done better on that, and I should have done better on that. So, I think that it's a beautiful time, an awakening time. And we just got to grit and bear through all of it. And I know that every day brings change, and while today may seem terrible, tomorrow may be a whole lot better.
Beautiful, brother.
Yeah.
It will be.
Well, I want to add something in here, Charles. I want to piggyback on this segment on fear. Is that so many millions of people are active in their churches, are active in their synagogues, are active in their faith, are active in their spirituality. I do believe that this is our greatest test in our life, the test of our true relationship with faith, our true relationship with fear. It's easy to say we believe when when the car's humming, when the cat's purring, when our life is feeling smooth and we're celebrating. It's when we face this type of challenge in our life that we really get tested. What we're tested on is, are you going to live in fear and live in the obsessive thinking in the mind, or how much are you willing to let go of trying to control the outcome and lean into faith and lean into the universe and lean into God and lean into whatever spiritual practice you believe in. This is our time to let go of the control and truly trust that no matter how it turns out in our own personal life, it's turned out the way it's supposed to have turned out. Not because we're good people, not because we're bad people, but because we're human beings. And this is the ultimate test of our life while we are alive, right here, right now. And I personally had a guy who had no spirituality in my life. From the time I was 14, I walked away from my faith. And I self-willed my life, all aspects of it, at home and in business. And it wasn't until I was near death that I had my own spiritual awakening back in 15. And it was at that time that, I think, Josh, you mentioned earlier in the show, you used the word surrender. And once I was willing to surrender my control and turn it over to a power greater than myself, I lost a lot of weight that way because I no longer had that pressure and that burden on myself to control the outcomes. I didn't have to think through everything I was going to contemplate doing. I just got to let it go, release it, and then let the universe lead me to where exactly I'm supposed to be. Even when I had those months where I had less than $100 in my checking account. Yeah, that's true. That's my truth. And I was at peace with it. I was okay because I knew no matter what, I didn't come this far to not experience something that I could never imagine. And here I am 5 years later, and life isn't perfect, but it's a whole lot better leaning into faith and fear. And I was the guy that was on psych meds, Charles, for 21 years for anxiety. 2, Zoloft and Buspar. And you know what, gentlemen? It didn't dissolve my anxiety. It just numbed me out. And I'd rather feel that anxiety like you felt this morning, Charles, and take an action step to dissolve that anxiety by reaching for a healthy tool rather than for a pharmaceutical or for a cigarette or for food or for sex or for my work, and just walk through it with dignity and grace today and with love. And the love I'm talking about is the self-love, the inner love.
Beautiful. And a helpful tool, I know this might cause some anxiety for some people, but if you're totally stuck in the mental spinning where your brain is just trying to figure all this out and can't come up with the answers, worst case scenario, what would happen if I went broke and I had to move in with family, and what would that look like? And packing up all my things from LA and moving out to Mexico to my father, and living there, and trying to find work there and whatever. And as you kind of go through where your brain usually stops and thinks it's the worst possible thing that could ever happen, and as you step through that in your mind, you realize that you're gonna be okay. And that if everything came crumbling down, you'd find a way. And there's people and friends and family that would step forward and help you. And so we're never, at that point of total, utter destruction and death, like our brain thinks that some of these scenarios are. And so sometimes it helps me to just kind of go through it all the way till the bitter worst end that could possibly happen. Me being broke and hungry and having to lean on friends or family, and I will be okay. It's not the end with what our brain is telling us it would be.
Yeah, you're right about that, Josh, because I'm a big, obviously big Alan Watts fan, and he talks about living in the here and now, this moment, and I think at times, even from some of the anxieties, we are thinking about yesterday, we're thinking about tomorrow, we're thinking about a week from now, we're thinking about everything else other than just the here and now. So even today, when I went out to the pool, with the kids, because I just needed a break, and I'm like, you know what? Wow. To be honest, if you really think about what we do have, we're blessed. Now we have our health, right? Right now, everybody might not be the most financially perfect as we would like, but you know what? We're getting by. We're able to buy some food, right? Our families don't have some unbelievable emergency where they're in critical care, right? So we don't have to be stressed out about that. We have hope. We're intelligent enough to rebound and pull something out the hat one way or another. So if we look at the blessings that we do have, man, we're riding really high, so we have to think about that.
Yeah, definitely. I just saw Jean Degatano pop up on the screen here. There she is. I went to high school with her.
Oh, wow.
Thanks for joining us tonight, Jean. Wow, that's like we were children together, and probably on some level we still are children together. Wow. I really needed to be here tonight, guys. It's been a funky week for me, and I've just, like I've always said, when I do this show with you guys, I learn so much, and you guys have really tonight been very soothing and loving for me after this crazy week, and the tools that you've just given me, and I just want to say thank you so much for that. I really am trying to find something to add to what all of you guys have spoken about, and the thing that pops into my mind right now is, as Charles just said, looking at what we do have in our life. One of the things that I have realized along the way when I quit my job at 40 years old to do photography and then have this life for the last 20 years, one of the things that I forget, that friends point out, is that everything is always worked out. Think about it, guys. Think about it, folks. I remember the deepest fears that I was in, my nervous system on overload, to the point that when I was living in LA, my nervous system was on overload so intensely that I was starting to develop hives on my body because I was just totally out of control. And it led me to make decisions to leave Los Angeles and move to what I really wanted. But what I realized when I left LA, I had $5,000 in my pocket. and I had no idea where all of the money that I had went. And I packed up my car with my 2 cats and got here, and everything just always works out.
Yeah.
I think the most important thing to do, and I've been telling people during this entire time, look at what's happening in the world, look what's happening in your life from a soul perspective. As Jay always says, move out of your head, move into your heart, but look at it from a soul perspective, that everything that is transpiring is so in our soul's plan or from a soul perspective. That allows us to, as Josh says, surrender. Not letting go or not letting go of our responsibilities in life, because it's a 50-50 deal. But if we, as Jay just says, have faith in the soul plan and know, and then look back and look at where all the times you did land on your feet. And go back to all the times. I go back to those times living in LA where I had those hives, and I went, why? Why was I worried so much? Why the heck? And really, because it always works out. It really, really does. If we simply take responsibility for our end, but start living from a soul perspective, from a faith perspective. And then the biggest thing for me was define fear for yourself, because fear is not a feeling. You're frightened of something, frightened that you're not good enough, frightened that you're not worthy enough, frightened that it's not going to work out. You're frightened of not. You're not frightened of all the wonderful things that have already happened in your life. So go back and look at all the wonderful things that have happened in your life and the steps, tools you used with that. But we're all frightened at what we're not going to have, what's not going to be, because we're not in control of it. Like I said earlier, we're living more now in an unknown period than we are in the known. And that is really wonderful, because people are frightened of what they don't know.
And I want to piggyback on that. That's beautiful, Jeff. I love it. Life is not happening to us; it's happening for us. And when we switch that thinking, then all of this becomes a beautiful opportunity. Like what Charles was saying, Evis is saying, Jay, we're all saying the same thing right now. This is a beautiful time if we choose to trust, surrender, and look at it that way. And we have the power to reframe, and we have the power to put that structure around this and turn it from a negative into an opportunity and into a positive.
Yeah.
And I know I've said this on other shows, folks, don't do it alone. I don't like to tell people what to do and not to do, but it is so important now that if you've hit that abyss, that you've hit a bottom, or you've hit a dark night of the soul, or you hit a shadow, know that there are people out there who love you, who will help you. Whether you believe it, think it or not, there are people. Do your best to reach out, and don't do it alone. There are people who love you.
Yeah, beautiful. Thank you, Jeff. We are coming up 6 minutes before the high hour. And so with what time we do have left, gentlemen, what I'd like to do is I'm going to switch this up a little bit. I'm going to take us in a different direction, because as we've really honed in on fear, where I want to go with it in this moment, I'm going to invite each one of you. I'll tell you what the challenge is going to be, what I'm going to dare you to do. But where fear comes from is, I believe, it's our own inner child that's scared. It's not our adult self, and it's not our ego, because our ego is the part of us that's going to come up with the quick solutions. are not always healthy for us. But the key is that when we have the awareness in the moment that we are feeling emotions or thoughts of fear, to have the awareness that that fear is coming from that little boy inside. For me, I refer to it as JJ. That was my nickname that my aunt had for me when I was a kid. So how I can help myself in that moment is I ask that little boy, what does he need from me? Because as an adult self, I have enough wisdom, I have enough experience now to know that no matter what, we are going to be okay. And what that little boy needs from me is just that assurance, like we needed from our parents when we got scared and we were 5, 6, and 3, and 8, and 10, and 12 years old. But today, it's not my mom's responsibility to take care of me and to protect me. That's my role. That's my responsibility coming from that space of love for myself. And so as soon as I have that moment of doubt, self-fear, worry, anxiety, my question to you for your closing thoughts tonight, each one of you are going to have 2 minutes, is what are some of the tools that you can share with others, viewers, that you reach for when that little boy is scared as shit inside, that helps you calm yourself down? Josh, Richard, you're up. 2 minutes.
Throw me in first. All right. To calm down those fears and those worries. Yeah, I'm gonna come back to trust and surrender. That has been the hardest lesson to learn in my life, and the universe has brought it back every time, and so hard, and in some terrifying ways. I mean, I have gotten down to the last $10 bill in my billfold, and I have gotten down to those. With the crash of my startup, I couldn't go bankrupt. I was forced because of one of our partners was Warner Brothers, and they would go after Warner Brothers for the money. I couldn't even go bankrupt. I had to sit in it for now 7 years afterwards and live in that fallout. So I had even go past the worst case scenario. And all of that was a beautiful lesson for trust and surrender. And so it's brought so much peace in my life, and relieved so much of the pressure and the worry. And so for me, it has been the hardest lesson, and I'm still being taught on deeper levels, and it still comes back. And I know that is one of my bigger lessons in this life. But it's been the most beautiful and brought me the most peace.
Good.
Hands down.
Magic, brother.
Ed, you're up. 2 minutes.
First thing, brother, like my brothers have said all night, breathe. Slow down. Be still. Calm that down and relax, and make that inner child, that little Jay, that little Ev, that little Josh, little Charles, that little Jeff, feel secure. See, when we're able to just be still and we're in feeling secure, we can then be ourselves. We can then go out and be the person that we want to be in this life, not one that was created for us. Because we've gone over, and it just hit me. We've got to start thinking about where we're putting our focus. Where are we focusing on? What are we looking in the outside world? What are we allowing this little child to see? The inner child has never left. Have a look at our children. What are they looking at the moment? They're looking at their games. They're looking at their movies. They're looking at their favorite celebrities, their YouTube stars. Ask yourself, what are you looking at? What are you focusing at? It's time to take a big, deep breath and come from the place of the heart, like Jay said. I've been quiet tonight. Someone mentioned it out there. but we do have these beautiful energies, and all these energies are about a beginning. I'm a man of the stars. I talked about we came out of the Gemini season. We came out of the mind. We took a trip down into the emotional body through Cancer. We have to clean the streets. It's emotional cleanup time. We're in the shadow right now. But now we're walking into a space of Leo, the heart of the lion. So yeah, we might have to surrender, but the ego is going to take you back and say, that's a failure though, Ev. No, it's not a failure. Just be where you are. See, the true lion, the true strength of a lion is one that knows its own strength. And it's one that leads by example. So for me, my brothers and sisters, take the first steps and breathe and just be still and pay attention to what you're focusing on.
Mm.
Mm.
Mm. Mm.
Beautiful.
Mm. Mm.
Jeff Asana.
I love following Evis.
Processing of that.
I've just like landed and grounded into my body after that.
Same.
Breathe. But I'm going to pass on a tool that it's the most challenging tool for me in my life because I was never taught it. And that's nurturing ourselves. Jay hit it right on the head. The fear and everything comes from our wounded little boy and girl. And I'm going to say wounded little boy and girl inside of us because we have both inside of us. It is about nurturing ourselves when we get to that place of anxiousness, anxiety, fear, going in, connecting with that wounded little boy or girl. Because most of us were more than likely never taught nurturing ourselves, how to nurture ourselves. When the wounded little boy or the wounded little girl inside of us is frantic, is crying, is frightening. Think of what mom or dad might have said to us back then. Stop that, stop this, grow up. You're a boy, you're a man, stop crying. But there's real feelings in those little children inside of us. And it's about learning to nurture ourselves through those periods. It's my biggest challenge. I'm still learning that to this day, of learning how to nurture myself. As Josh said earlier, it's okay. What are you feeling right now? Identify your feelings. The first step to nurturing is simply say, it's okay. Breathe. It's okay. Breathe. It's okay. And then move from there. That's the first step to nurturing where you are, by allowing yourself to be there. And then, as Jay said, if you have to look in a mirror, close your eyes, ask that child inside of you, what do you need right now? And how can I help you with that need?
Beautiful. Beautiful, brother.
Jeff, I want to piggyback on what you just said, because you just got something on me, which is that before we could learn how to truly communicate with people outside of ourselves, the first place where we can change the relationship is within. And where we can start is within our relationship with our inner self, our inner child. And when we have that awareness and we're willing to be courageous enough to start having those conversations with ourselves, ask ourselves, what do you need from me right now? Are you hungry? I used to say to myself, when I understood the power of my relationship with self, I'd ask that little boy inside, are you tired? Because you seem awfully cranky right now. Let's take a cat nap. Let's take a 30-minute nap. And I used to set an alarm, and I'd set it for 30 minutes, and then I'd wake up and I'd feel a whole lot better. And sometimes he was just pissed off because I wasn't paying attention to him. I hadn't had a play date. I hadn't given him any time just to chill. And a play date doesn't have to be something expensive like going to Disney. A play date can just be turning on some music and dancing or singing, or jumping up and down. That's toys for little kids, and sometimes toys that don't cost any money. Just pull out the pot and start playing the drums. Whatever it takes. That's what it's about. It's about reconnecting with ourselves. And so, thank you for bringing that out, Jeff. Beautiful, Charles. I saved the best for last tonight. I just want to take a moment to honor you because when I got a text from you, I think it was 3:30 in the morning.
Yeah.
My time it was 6:30. You probably had just woken up, and you made it clear to me, we're gonna have to go without you tonight because you're under the weather. And I just want to honor you and thank you for stepping into your truth and having the courage to push away what you were feeling and showing up because you showed up tonight.
Thank you.
And I appreciate you for that. And so thank you.
Yeah, I was going to say that my word and what I think of when I think of even what we're doing here is purpose. We should be living for a purpose greater than ourselves, greater than even our immediate loved ones. I think that when I look back at my youth, when I was inspired, by my uncle, and I knew that, man, I wanted to do something bigger than me. And I've been living that every day. So even in this critical time that we live right now, it's always trying to reach that purpose so I can leave something for someone else. Because God knows I don't want to pass and 2 weeks of a couple of Facebook posts. I want to leave something that has a purpose for other people. So, when I think of everything that we're talking about today, and even that's why I was able to fight through this and get on today, because I knew that our purpose here for this show, our purpose for our communication and what we're putting out there for people is much bigger than us. And I had to fight to get there. And I do want to say something too as well. Like I said, I've learned so much. I might not be, so teary-eyed at times, but I love you and I'm sorry. And that's just a blanket thing out there to anybody that needs to hear it. So
Beautiful, brother.
Love you, Charles. Love all of you.
You're not alone, Charles, my friend. Don't ever think you're alone.
Thank you, brother.
Well,
Love you all. Such a beautiful space.
Yeah, you got me, dude. Wow.
Yeah. Well, this is my time to say my closing thoughts. First and foremost, I want to thank the viewers, all of you that are watching us live or catch us on replay. What I've learned in my life is that there's no right time, there's no wrong time. It's your time. When you show up, you're right on time. And so, thank you for supporting our show, for participating not only in the show with us, but having the courage to participate in your life today and making a difference. Because this is what I've learned in my healing journey, is that we don't think people are paying attention to us because we're so busy paying attention to how we think people are perceiving us, but they're watching our behavior. And we have a choice in life today. We either can be a follower or we can be a leader. We can mentor the people that we care about in our life. And how we can mentor the people that we care about is how we show up. Not what we say, but how we show up first for ourselves. And let our behavior, let our choices in our life be the greatest light for those that we want to touch. Not what we say, but how we show up makes the biggest difference. And so with that, I'm going to invite all of you, our viewers and listeners, to please share this out. If you have family and friends not on Facebook, we have a Facebook page, a YouTube page, I should say. You can find us on YouTube, Real Men, Real Talk Live. And with that, I invite each one of you people to know this. As Charles said, he said he loves us all. And I'm going to end by saying, we love all of you. Every single one of you, I love. I feel it in this moment. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. We'll see you next week on Real Men, Real Talk.